Welcome to the Geeko Gwenomiga News Podcast, the Micro News Podcast. I'm your host, Gwen. Sorry if you were expecting a tiny little lizard hawking insurance, but I'm a bit easier on the eyes. Welcome back to the Stacks. This week's episode is really special because we're talking about something that hasn't happened in most of our lifetimes. 4 astronauts on Artemis II are about to do something no human has done in over 50 years: leave Earth orbit and journey to the moon. As someone who grew up well after the Apollo era, this feels almost surreal. And I think it's worth taking a step back to understand what's happening, how we got here, and where we're going from here. The mission itself. Let me start with what's about to happen this week. Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialist Christina Koch from NASA, along with Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, are going to launch from Kennedy Space Center on top of the most powerful rocket currently in operation, the Space Launch System, or SLS. This is a 10-day mission that will take them around the moon and back. They won't land. This is essentially a test flight to prove that all the systems work with humans on board. They'll orbit Earth for about a day to check that everything's functioning properly, then fire the engine to head toward the moon. At their closest approach, they'll come within about 4,000 to 6,000 miles of the lunar surface before slingshotting back to Earth. And here's what makes this historic. Victor Glover will become the first person of color to leave low Earth orbit. Christina Koch will be the first woman. Jeremy Hansen will be the first non-American. The mission will set records for the farthest humans have traveled from Earth and the fastest atmospheric re-entry speed ever. About 25,000 miles per hour when they hit Earth's atmosphere on the way back. How we got here. Now, to understand why this matters, you need to know the history. The last time humans went to the moon was December 1972 with Apollo 17. That's 54 years ago. Most people alive today have no memory of humans being anywhere near the moon. After Apollo, the United States just stopped. There was no follow-up plan. We'd won the space race against the Soviet Union, and that was the whole point. Apollo was driven by Cold War politics, not by a sustainable vision for space exploration. So for half a century, we've been stuck in low Earth orbit with the Space Shuttle and the International Space Station. The Artemis program started during the first Trump administration in 2017, named after Apollo's twin sister in Greek mythology. But unlike Apollo, which was all about getting there first, Artemis is designed to establish a permanent human presence on the moon. The tagline NASA keeps using is, "This time we're going to stay." Apollo versus Artemis. The technology comparison with Apollo is fascinating. The Saturn V rocket that launched Apollo was slightly taller at 363 feet compared to SLS's 322 feet, but SLS generates 15% more thrust. Both use similar liquid oxygen and hydrogen fuel, but SLS also has 2 massive solid rocket boosters strapped to the sides. The Orion spacecraft that the Artemis astronauts will ride in is significantly more advanced than the Apollo command modules. Where Apollo carried 3 crew for up to 14 days, Orion can carry 4 for 21 days. It has 30% more habitable space, solar panels for renewable power instead of finite fuel cells, and a computer that's 20,000 times faster than what Apollo had, with 128,000 times more memory. Just one of Orion's redundant computers weighs 75% as much as Apollo's single computer, but vastly outperforms it. But here's the kicker. Adjusted for inflation, the entire Apollo program cost over $300 billion. Artemis has been operating on about $6 billion per year since 2017. NASA is trying to do more with dramatically less funding by partnering with commercial companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin. The delays and challenges. This mission was supposed to launch in September 2025, then February 2026, then March. It kept getting delayed because of technical issues, hydrogen fuel leaks, heat shield concerns from the uncrewed Artemis I test flight in 2022, and helium flow problems. The heat shield issue is particularly concerning. During Artemis I, the capsule's heat shield showed unexpected charring and material loss during re-entry. For Artemis II, NASA decided to use the same heat shield design but change the re-entry trajectory to reduce the time exposed to extreme temperatures. Some engineers objected to this approach, but NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman reviewed the data and gave it the green light. This is the reality of cutting-edge engineering. You're constantly balancing risk against progress. Apollo 8, the first mission to orbit the Moon in 1968, is still considered one of the gutsiest missions ever. NASA is being much more cautious this time around. What comes next? So if Artemis II succeeds this week, what happens next? This is where it gets really ambitious. In February, NASA completely overhauled the Artemis roadmap. Artemis III, scheduled for 2027, will now stay in Earth orbit and test the lunar landers being built by SpaceX and Blue Origin. Astronauts will practice docking their Orion capsule with these landers, essentially a dress rehearsal without the risk of being 240,000 miles from home. Artemis IV, targeted for early 2028, will be the first actual moon landing since Apollo 17. Then Artemis V later in 2028. After that, NASA wants to launch missions about once a year. But here's the really big news. NASA just announced a $20 billion plan to build a permanent moon base near the lunar South Pole by the mid-2030s. This will happen in 3 phases. Phase 1 is frequent missions to test equipment and learn about the environment. Phase 2 establishes early infrastructure, solar and nuclear power stations, enhanced communications, and cargo delivery. Phase 3 is long-term human habitation with semi-permanent modules. They're also canceling the Gateway space station that was supposed to orbit the Moon and instead focusing all resources on the surface base. And they're developing nuclear-powered propulsion systems for eventual Mars missions. The bigger picture. From a librarian's perspective, what strikes me about all this is how different the information landscape is compared to Apollo. In 1969, people had 3 TV networks and newspapers. The entire world watched the Moon landing together as a shared human experience. Today, we have endless media fragmentation. Some people are deeply invested in Artemis, following every update. Others have no idea it's even happening. There's a new space race with China, which plans to land their astronauts on the Moon by 2030. But it doesn't have the same cultural urgency as the Cold War rivalry did. The other thing that's different is transparency. NASA is live streaming everything, publishing technical documents, and dealing with public scrutiny in real time when things go wrong. The budget overruns, the delays, the technical problems. It's all public information. That's actually healthy for democracy. But it also means the program has to survive constant criticism and political uncertainty. So as we potentially watch 4 humans launch toward the Moon this week, I think it's worth taking a moment to appreciate what this represents. Not just the technical achievement, though that's remarkable, but what it says about long-term thinking, international cooperation, and our willingness to invest in exploration even when the benefits aren't immediate. If you work in education or libraries, this is an incredible teaching moment. We're living through history. Students who are in elementary school right now might be the ones living on that moon base in 2040 or traveling to Mars in 2050. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, this is Geeko Gwen with the Mega News.
Tucked in her sleeve, tech savvy twist you won't believe.